Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Magnolia State production. Here we are back at Crystal Springs at the Chautaqua Park Open. This tournament brought to you by Kapaya Collision Center. We're starting right off. I was trying to combine those two. We're starting off at hole A. Par 3, 192 feet. This one is just kind of right there for you. Most of our pros probably going to go for the ace, or at least attempt to go for the ace. And if they go a little bit long, they'll have a little bit of work to do to clean up the two. Chad opting for this Rhino here. So close to staying up there. Kyle opting for a pig, I believe this is. Finishing a little bit left. No OB on this hole. Should have said that first. Cameron opting for a tomahawk once again. Going fairly long of the basket. Easy cleanup for him though. See how he does it. Oh my gosh, that was very high for Cameron, but it still goes in. Thankfully the scorecard doesn't care about the video, but we do. We care. And Chad from maybe a foot or two closer, hopefully not quite as high as that, but very elevated here, so nice dead center hit there for Chad.
It's like a small version of a bag.
And Kyle from probably about 10 feet, but huge elevation. Ooh, sneaking that one right over. We got ourselves a star frame, ladies and gentlemen. From hole A to hole 10, par 3, 323 feet. Once again, another huge elevation change we've got for us. You're throwing downhill and with a little bit of an uphill finish. I believe the play here really is the forehand play. I think it plays nicely to this hole, but it is very far to get that. I believe this Chad throws the Mako 3 here. I think that's what that is. There is an OB, I guess technically OB ditch here right in the middle, but it's really surrounded, if it's surrounded by water, it's OB, but once again, water very low, very unlikely to go OB. Kyle opting for this Firebird. That had some zip on it. That looked nice. And that's probably 25 or so feet uphill. Cameron also opting for the forehand, coming out really early. And he will be in the thick stuff on the right-hand side. No OB on this hole, aside from surrounded by water, but you will wish that you had OB. Especially when you have looks like this. Huge Anheuser putt there for him. Putting himself out there with a nice look at the 3. That's all you can do when you're off the fairways here. Kyle not really committing on that one. He's not really committing on that one like he wanted to. Coming up a little bit short. Ooh, Cameron also coming up a little bit short on that bid. And we missed it, but Chad, I almost called him Kyle again. Chad threw an approach shot to get there, so that was for 3 and not for 2, even though we missed his other shot. And Kyle tapping in that 3, and Cameron with the bogey. Hole 11, par 3, 337 feet. We have another tunnel shot. And this one is a huge tunnel shot because it's about 150 feet or so until you get to this opening. Then it starts to kind of open up, but not really. So it's just kind of a 30-foot wide tunnel shot the whole way until you get to the basket. Once again, surrounded by water is OB, but the water is super low. A lot more water here than in other spots. I love being in this position. You can hear the disc just cutting through the wind there. Chad ending up about 35, 40 feet away from the pin on the right-hand side. This, I believe, is not an invader, but a fierce, excuse me, from Kyle. That will be on the hill just below the basket. Cameron doing what he does best, throwing a tomahawk.
Go in, go in.
Oh, so close to an ace there.
Feet to the right pipe.
Oh, that would have been so cool to get. Here we've got Chad from probably 45 feet, maybe even further than that. Well outside the circle. Cashing that one in.
What a putt.
I said Kyle was on the hill below the basket. I didn't realize he was this short. And that is an invader. I can see the stamp. Stepping that one in. Kyle ringing it up from distance. And Cameron to follow that up. We got ourselves another star frame. Man, and you follow up hole 11 with hole 12, and you're like, what did I do wrong with my life? This is a very difficult shot. This is a bonus birdie all day. This is a must par. And if you don't par it, you're probably not losing that many strokes to the field. We've got 355 feet uphill, huge uphill at the very end here. So if you throw about 320 feet to the base of that hill and then hope you've got to look at the par. Chad swinging that one a little too far to the right. That was definitely the gap to hit if you want to get to the basket.
That's hole 4.
A little low from Kyle. But getting some good ground play off of those leaves, he should be in a great position at the base of that hill. Just Cam doing Cam things, lining up that tomahawk. And absolutely impossible to follow where this one went, but it went way left on top of that hill.
That could be fair, though.
It looked good.
Here we've got Chad from way, way, way away. Was that enough ways? Maybe I could throw a couple more in. Opting for the turn over to forehand here.
That's the only one I'm worried about.
Yep, they'll have like big swirls.
Putting himself in a position to have a look at the basket from there. Kyle, nice soft approach here. Will be easy tap in 3. Oh, I said he has a look at the basket. I thought he had a better look than that.
Well, if you're gonna get in the hole through the woods.
Swinging that one, catching the last tree. Unfortunate result, but easy bogey from there. Cameron giving that one a nice bid.
Look at that guy too.
This is probably about 80 feet? No, it's like 60, 70 feet. Nice cleanup from Chad. Easy par from Kyle and from Cameron. Well, I say that. This is hugely uphill. Hole 13, the hanging basket, 186 feet. Par 3, we have really just a really simple shot. I mean, you just throw the disc and you get it into the basket. What more is there to say? Most players probably going to opt for this forehand, much wider or much cleaner on the left side than it is on the right. Kyle throwing that one a little high for the
right under the basket too. I hope so.
Just a little high, I would say, out of the hand from Kyle, but he hit the gap, and that's really the most important bit, especially considering how short this hole is, that if you just throw it up through the gap, you'll have a look at the basket. Cameron probably almost skipping in. The basket's pretty much behind that big pine tree, or right center frame that tree. It's probably right behind that. And even Chad opting for the forehand. And that should be in a great position. All three shots looked great. They should be having a nice look at the basket. As you, oh yeah, this is, you just call it a star frame right here. Look at this grouping. Very well done by all of our pros. Kyle being a Chad and keeping that basket steady, and Chad being a Chad and tapping that in. And Cameron to finish up that star frame. Great shots. Hole 14, par 3, 280 feet. We have just this huge right-hand forehand spike hyzer, essentially, is what you're trying to do. Kyle and Chad have both tried to show me that there's a turnover route, but I just can't throw it. I always end up hitting that first available tree off the tee. So I think forehand really is the play here, especially considering it's basically 100 feet out and then about 180 feet to the right. Kyle opting for that turnover backhand, as I was saying. Unfortunately, catching an early tree, leaving himself pretty short of the pin.
Every time I go there,
Cameron opting for the forehand, but just spiking a little too much.
Pretty easy up shot.
As you hear Kyle in the back, pretty easy upshot. And Chad also opting for the backhand turnover. I can say I see the merits. You kind of have a just slow left to right fading shot. And as it pans out, it kind of flattens toward the basket, but I just can't get the angle right.
you have to down there throw that thing on a freaking roller. Yeah.
Great approach shot from Kyle there. Should leave himself probably 15 feet. Cameron trying to ring that one up. That was a great bid. Just coming up a little high left. Or fading a little early is what I should have said. Oh, and Chad, all the commitment. Just a little too high. Kyle, all on the left side there. Probably a timing issue. Kyle really not taking his time on that cleanup, but fortunately he is in for the bogey, so Cameron cleaning up the 3. And Chad from just a little bit closer to do the same. Just nonchalantly, whoop. On to hole 15, par 4, 596 feet. We have this initial gap. Well, surprise, surprise. We've got initial gap off after initial gap here in the piney woods. That big pile of mulch not in play as of this moment. It has since been clear. But really, you have this tunnel shot all the way down until you get to this nice big opening. So most placement shots will end up around here, a little shorter than here, where I say here. I'm incoherent at this point. Don't mind me. Throw it 350 feet down the fairway, end up on that hill, and have an easy look at the basket. Cameron not getting enough turn on that, throwing it really high. He will end up in the bushy tree next to the long position for hole 14. Chad doing a little pirouette. Getting all up in my face. What a jerk. So rude. Didn't even ask me to move. And really showing us how it's done. Great shot from Chad.
I'm probably going to need that disc a lot too.
He will be in a prime position to get up and
I
down.
want to go down the road and cut that, but I'm a straight putter shot at it.
Chad has some sneaky distance.
I got
I'll
over
say
that way a few times, but
Kyle following that a similar line.
Like
He
right
should be
there,
in
there's
a
a lot
great
of low
position as well.
But it's up there far enough.
oh yeah.
Here we see Cameron from inside this pine tree. Very brutal spot to be. Opting for this forehand roller, hitting the tree off of the shot and rolling towards the tee for another hole. Oh, Cameron coming up really early there. He'll have a lot of work left to do for the 4. Nice and soft from Kyle here. Nice and straight as well. And that is absolutely parked. We finally get to Chad's drive. Right on top of the hill, right where you want to be. Maybe a little far to the right, to be honest with you. But really, when you have this good of a look at it, I wouldn't complain too much. Or too loudly. Almost draining that one for eagle. Great shot from Chad. Great job putting himself in good position, and great job in utilizing that. Or capitalizing. That's a better word. Great job on capitalizing on that. Cameron coming up a little bit short and right on his par save bid. And he now has a little bit of a nervy putt for the bogey. This is right at the range where you're like, oh, this should be easy, but it's not easy. It is easy for Cameron, making good on that bogey save. Kyle making the 3 look easy, and Chad making the 3 look even easier. Here we arrive. Words, they're hard to say. Here we arrive at hole 16, par 3, 315 feet. We have this tree on the right, this tree on the left, this tree on the right, this tree on the left, alternating to finally get to this basket where we have this tiny little rock wall to stop anything from skipping too much. And by that, I mean to stop good shots from skipping up to the basket. Chad really left. He will be in the stuff on the right. Excuse me. In the stuff on the right. There we see me changing filters because it got a little bright for the camera. Kyle also ending up in that left stuff with that Firebird.
Alright, show us the way.
Kyle not too happy with that one. And finally we have Cameron. Also ending up in the left stuff. I don't know what it is about that tree, but it's a disc magnet. I tell you what. Here we see Chad super obstructed inside the thick pine tree. Probably has about 80 feet or so to the basket. Maybe less than that. Definitely a lot of work in any case. Draining that one. Huge party from Chad there. Lots of excitement. That's a huge momentum saver right there. Cameron with an easy up and down there. Chad still going on about that. My goodness, man. Just control yourself. That was a fantastic birdie save from Chad. You just can't downplay that. That was so cool. Kyle coming up a little bit short and left on his bid. He will have to settle for an easy 3, as will Cameron. Before we move on to one of the more difficult holes, and by more difficult, I mean absolutely the hardest hole. Hole 17. This hole will eat your lunch, spit it out, and feed it back to you. It is so mean. This isn't even the tee pad that we're throwing from. This is like a shorter, like tee pad or something like that. I don't even know what it's from, but here we see this giant wall that you have to throw over, and this is probably about 250 to 350 feet down the fairway. I don't know. I'm not a human rangefinder. What do you want from me? And then after that, you have another 200 or so feet to get to the basket, and it's a sloping downhill that's going to give you a ton of skip. OB road all the way to the left and kind of curving around it, but that dirt road that we were going over, not OB. Here is the gap, as you can see.
Got it.
And that is why this is the most evil hole. Look at this gap. Look at what you're trying to throw down. This is nasty.
No.
It's so hard. This is such a difficult hole. That cannot be overstated.
Damn, boy.
Yeah, I was fixing to do that.
It's so hard. It's so cool, though. I mean, when you make that gap, you feel like a superhero. Not that I've ever done that, but hey, I've heard.
Damn, boy.
Nobody making it to the top of the hill. Lots and lots of work left to do for all of our pros here. Chad seeing what kind of options he has from being this far to the left in the rough. That should be in a pretty good position. He should be up on top of that hill. We've got to have Cameron come down and do like a tomahawk clinic, because he just makes it look so easy. And every time I do it, it feels like I'm throwing my arm out.
You can get up and down in there.
Yep.
I mean, you can run it if you want.
Just as Chad says, that's pretty easy up and down from there. And Kyle with the best look, but probably also the worst look, because the closer you are to this hill, the more uphill you have to throw to clear it.
Oh, I thought we were going to see another thumber. You're good.
Yep, not too shabby from Kyle. Here we see Chad throwing 3. I believe this is his Solstice that he's got in his hand. The Solstice is the Innova molded MD4. I'm a huge fan. Not sponsored, just a big fan.
Big hop.
Asking for a nice big skip, and it gets it.
You're on the...
Kyle from probably 200 feet, maybe a little shorter than that. Looks like he's throwing his pig. Hopefully getting some skip to the left on that shot. Once again, changing the filter because I felt the need to. I'm not even sure why. Nice up and down from Cameron.
No way.
Should be an easy 4 for him. Kyle very frustratingly low on that putt. Cleans up the bogey. Definitely hurts to lose a stroke like that. Chad cleaning up the par. Cameron to do the same. Kyle in the background being upset with himself. And finally, we arrive at hole 18, par 3, 306 feet. From the Pro Pad, this is a difficult hole. From the Am Pad, this is like a fun hyzer shot. So if you play this course, definitely recommend the Am Pads, at least the first time around. The Pro Pad's definitely their own mix of fun, but play the Am Pads first. Makes yourself feel better. We've just got this nice downhill shot, so you really don't have to power on it too much. Most of our pros probably going to opt for a mid, maybe a fairway driver. Chad opting for that Solstice again. Just throwing a nice hyzer. And really the right-hand backhand is the ideal shot. Unfortunately, I really hate to have right-hand dominant holes all the time, but it's really the shot for this. And even Cameron, the Tomahawk forehand specialist, opting for the backhand. And I don't know why he doesn't throw his backhand more, because that was beautiful. That was laced. Kyle with his MD3 hitting really early. Ooh, that's not what you want on this hole. You really got to make it past those trees. Throwing his pig once again. Splitting those trees should put himself in a good spot for the 3. Maybe a little bit of a nervy putt. Chad coming a little bit short with that Solstice throw. Maybe a bit too much hyzer. And he's got to put a little bit of an anhyzer on this putt to clear that tree. Unfortunately, just a little too high. Great line, though. It was going to go in if it was lower. Kyle from probably 15 feet. Cleaning up that par. Here we see Cameron with the absolute park job. And it makes us wonder why he doesn't throw more backhands. Cleaning up the birdie. Chad cleaning up the par. And those are the final scores for the first round of the Chautauqua Park Open. Once again, this tournament brought to you by Copiah Collision Center, and this coverage brought to you by judges. I believe they paid me. I could be wrong. Copiah, anyway, big thanks to them, and thanks to you for watching. Hopefully catch you on the second round.